Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: IU Health Southern Indiana physicians, primary care and specialty care providers now accepting new patients in Bloomington and throughout South Central Indiana. siphysicians.org, IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. A lot of money is being poured into Indiana's 9th congressional race between Republican Trey Hollingsworth and Democrat Shelli Yoder.
We are looking at whether or not you're going to elect someone who was able, from family money, to buy their way into Congress.
While my opponent runs around all across the country soliciting money from unions and soliciting other money from liberal Democrats, I'm focused on listening to the people of the district.
Coming up, the candidates respond to their critics and lay out their platforms. About 1 million people visit Lake Monroe every year. It's a popular recreation spot, and it's also the sole water source for thousands of Hoosiers.
Without a clean and stable water supply, we don't have anything.
The Army Corps just wrapped up a process to update the Lake Master Plan. Coming up, we break down what's in it and what's not. Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Last November, after the terrorist attack in Paris, Governor Mike Pence suspended grant funding from going to organizations like Exodus Refugee Immigration, which helps Syrian refugees relocate to Indiana. It was a move said to protect Hoosiers from foreign-born terrorists. Exodus and the American Civil Liberties Union sued the state, and a federal judge in Indiana ruled in their favor, preventing Pence's order from taking effect. Now, the state is asking the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals in Chicago to reverse that decision. A panel of 3 federal judges heard arguments from both sides on Wednesday. The Indiana Attorney General's office reiterated in a statement that Governor Pence does hold authority to stall the funding. It suggested that Indiana could have had a stronger legal argument for opting out of the program instead of excluding Syrians. The Indiana Solicitor General repeatedly cited an FBI director's concerns about Syria, which prompted intense exchanges with the judges.
And as the court noted, this is not a decision the state should be making. This decision the President of the United States has made, and this is not a program that allows the state, we argue, to insinuate itself into foreign policy.
More than 100 Syrian refugees have resettled in the state since Pence's December directive.
Syrians are actually the ones fleeing terrorists. They're the ones that have had their homes destroyed, had their lives turned upside down, and they're the ones that actually need the protection.
There's no deadline for the court to issue its decision. Candidates vying for Todd Young's congressional seat will face each other in their first debate next week. Republican Trey Hollingsworth and Democrat Shelli Yoder are competing to represent Indiana's 9th district. Russell Brooksbank is the Libertarian candidate. As Barbara Brozier reports, the race is already garnering national attention.
Together, we can ensure that Indiana is the first state on the board to elect a Republican president of the United States and keep this Senate seat in Republican hands.
When Republican Congressman Todd Young decided to run for Dan Coates' Senate seat, it opened the door for a new face to represent Indiana's 9th district in Congress.
As a rule, incumbents across the country, but certainly within Indiana, incumbents in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate win re-election at an astoundingly high rate, which means people who are thinking about running for those offices look for the opportunity when it's an open seat.
Democrats see it as an opportunity to regain control of the 9th district, and they're hopeful Shelli Yoder can do so. She ran unsuccessfully against Young in 2012.
In 2012, we certainly ran with a lot of heart, and it was sort of a visceral reaction why I got into the race in the first place. And It was a terrific race, though. I learned so much.
Yoder says she decided to get back in the race for the same reasons she did 4 years ago. She doesn't want to see so many Hoosier families struggling.
One of the things that called me into running for Congress in the first place was worrying about good paying jobs and whether or not Hoosier families up and down the 9th District would be able to grab hold of those, whether or not those jobs will even be here. So that is definitely why I am running and what's so important.
Yoder will face Republican candidate Trey Hollingsworth in November. He's done business in Indiana, but only moved to the state last year.
My beautiful wife, when we got married a few years ago, wanted to move closer to her family. And so right now I live 4 miles from my mother-in-law. I live 6 miles from my father-in-law's restaurant that he's owned for 40 years. And as we look to start our family, we wanted to be close to her family.
Hollingsworth says he's running for Congress because he's frustrated with career politicians and the lack of action in Washington. He says, as a political outsider, he can help create meaningful change.
I think the country has gotten tired of the status quo. They have gotten tired of same old, and understand that it's going to take genuine, experienced outsiders to begin to beat back that liberal agenda, continue to beat back that continued failed policies that we've seen.
But Hollingsworth is raising eyebrows because of his recent move to the state and the money being poured into his candidacy. He and his father are almost entirely funding his campaign. Only 1% of his money so far comes from individual contributions. That has some people dubbing him a carpetbagger.
The concept is this: you're somebody who simply comes into a community and without any sort of history there and attempts to assume some role of significance. In other words, you've brought in your luggage, you've set yourself down, you don't have permanent roots, you're still living out of your suitcase, so to speak. That's a carpetbagger.
Yoder says the makeup of Hollingsworth's campaign funds represents what's wrong with current campaign financing rules. But Hollingsworth says it means he isn't beholden to special interests.
We really have taken the voice away from voters, and I think this is one of the issues that's wrong with Congress today. The dissatisfaction that we hear voters talking about. They don't feel that their vote matters at the end of the day, that someone can actually look at different races throughout the country and say, well, how much do I have to spend in my bank account? How much can my father lend me? And then pick accordingly.
Politicians do say things like that, but as business people, we understand you should have skin in the game. We should be investing in a better America. I don't know where else that could be better than to invest in what I hope is a brighter future for every Hoosier family, for my family, and for all American families. And so I do want to see a better America. I am committed to that.
Yoder is taking a completely different approach to campaign funding. She far outraised Hollingsworth in individual contributions. They make up more than half of her campaign funds. The rest of her money is a combination of committee and party contributions. But Hollingsworth still has more cash, and that could make a difference.
You can't get away from money, and in American politics, the general adage is 2 out of 3 times the candidate with the most money wins. Regardless of where it comes from, even the self-finance candidate versus someone who's gotten thousands of donations, money's going to matter. If they're able to fundraise well, they're probably going to do well in the election.
Political scientists say that's one of the reasons the 9th District race will be one to watch. If the primary is any indication, it could be a tight race.
If you look at the raw vote total, Shelli Yoder earned more votes than Hollingsworth did, but at the same time, she had fewer significant competitors. There were more votes cast in the Republican primary, and some people would say, well, that suggests it's a Republican district, and it's a district that probably leans Republican. But in Shelli Yoder, you have somebody who is from Indiana, who has Hoosier roots. She can talk about that in a way that Hollingsworth cannot.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Barbara Brozier.
Both candidates have several endorsements. A nonpartisan Indiana Farm Bureau Political Action Committee and the National Federation of Independent Businesses endorsed Hollingsworth, while Yoder has the support of the Indiana Fraternal Order of Police and the International Association of Firefighters. Hollingsworth and Yoder will debate Monday during a luncheon at the Greater Greenwood Chamber. Now, for headlines, we go over to Lindsay Wright, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. Indiana's Secretary of State is reminding voters who cast a straight ticket ballot in November that those votes won't count for at-large candidates for county or town councils. Under a new law, voters need to select each candidate they wish to elect for those at-large seats. In the past, some voters didn't follow instructions when voting straight party ballots and chose to split the ticket by marking both a straight party ticket vote with individual candidates in partisan races. The new law eliminates that. Indiana State Police say they're investigating fraudulent voter registration forms filed in 2 counties. At least 10 voter registration forms are confirmed to have fraudulent information. The forms were among more than 28,000 that the Indiana Voter Registration Project submitted to registration offices in Marion and Hendricks counties. Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson made a campaign stop in the Hoosier state this week. At a Purdue forum, the former New Mexico governor talked about what he would do as president. He calls for letting the two-party system crash.
Look, if we elect Trump or we elect Clinton, does anybody think that the polarization in Congress is going to get any better? Nobody thinks that. Nobody, and rightfully so. It's not. They want to kill each other.
The Washington Post shows Johnson polling at 9%. A suburban Indianapolis man is facing a September 23rd initial hearing after being indicted on a charge of providing material support to a terrorist organization. Akram Musleh is accused of trying to travel overseas to join the Islamic State militant group. He's being held in federal custody. In a statement, Musleh's attorney said the case will demonstrate the problems with attempting to shoehorn foreign policy into the criminal justice system. The Owen County prosecutor won't pursue the death penalty for a man accused of sexually assaulting and killing 1-year-old Shaylin Ammerman. The crime did meet the aggravating circumstances needed to qualify for the death penalty, but prosecutors are instead asking for a sentence of life without parole for Kyle Parker. Parker is expected back in court October 5th for a pretrial conference. Indiana Supreme Court will decide whether private university police departments must comply with public records laws. It heard arguments in a case involving ESPN and the University of Notre Dame this week. ESPN argues that while Notre Dame is a private institution, its police department is exercising the power of the state when writing tickets and making arrests. But Notre Dame argues that's not what legislators intended.
And this court's job, and our job as advocates, is not to talk about what's the wisest policy, what's the best way to deal with these public access questions. The job is, what does this statute mean?
If the court rules in favor of ESPN, a lower court will likely decide which records must be released under public records laws. A sheriff says his department is missing $1,700 seized by one of his deputies before that officer was fatally wounded in a shootout. Howard County Deputy Carl Kuntz seized that money during a traffic stop in March. Kuntz placed the money in a marked evidence bag in his car, and hours later, he was fatally wounded. The sheriff's department realized the money was missing a few days later, but the patrol car was left unattended briefly after Kuntz was shot. The number of people who are food insecure, that's those who have limited access to healthy food year-round, dropped by 1 point nationally, but Indiana's number is growing. The annual food insecurity report from the USDA compares census data and survey information from 2010 through 2015. It finds the number of Hoosiers with low access to healthy food grew from 13.5 to 14.8%. That's nearly 1 million people. ITT Technical Institute is closing today. State higher education and workforce officials are promoting discounts, credit transfers, and job training to aid students and employees displaced by the sudden shutdown. About 1,000 students were enrolled at ITT in Indiana. The U.S. Department of Education banned it from enrolling new students who use federal financial aid to pay for tuition. East Chicago School District has received a $3 million disaster relief loan from the state. After dangerous levels of lead and arsenic were found next to Cary Gosh Elementary School, district officials relocated about 450 students to an abandoned middle school. The district had less than a week to make major renovations to the school, so it was suitable for preschool through 6th graders, as well as handicapped students.
Tore out the bathrooms and had to lower, the sinks and water fountains and everything to get the restrooms accessible for little kids.
The $3 million loan will help repay the district for those costs, as well as fund future construction. It seems unlikely a group of educators and policymakers will draft a plan this year for an I-step replacement. The group's deadline is December 1st. With only 2 planning meetings left, some of the panel members are disappointed there won't be as much time to have as much influence over the next test as they originally thought.
Perhaps what that means is that we just aim to become more general in our recommendation to the state. We'll not be able to be as specific as maybe some individuals, myself included, would have liked to have been in the proposal.
At this week's meeting, the Department of Education announced to the panel that they independently contacted testing vendors to ask for proposals on a new test. State Superintendent Glenda Ritz says this will ensure the panel has a solid recommendation before December. Indiana University President Michael McRobbie says total contributions to IU in fiscal year 2016 are nearing $1 billion. McRobbie used his State of the University address to speak about finances, history, and the university's upcoming bicentennial. McRobbie announced a financial initiative in which he called for a systematic review of IU procedures in the interest of eliminating redundancies. His plan for the school's 200th anniversary in 2020 includes improving upon the ethos and character of the university.
And it is the campuses that provide them with the spaces, interior and exterior, intimate and grand, in which they can contemplate, study, experiment, debate, meet, fall in love, exercise, and compete.
McRobbie also outlined a number of initiatives, including grants, history projects, and public art restoration. New census data puts Columbus, Indiana in the top 20 for startup growth nationwide. The numbers show that businesses less than a year old made up nearly 5% of the city's businesses in 2014. That's a 1.1% increase from 2009. And Joe, it might seem small, but it's 15th highest rate in the country.
That's great. Good news for them.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lindsay. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. For the first time in 50 years, there's a new master plan for Lake Monroe. We'll find out what the plan holds for the lake's future and why some people are not happy with it. And we travel to the smallest city in the United States to have an LGBTQ community center. It's not as far away as you might think. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
I can change the world with my own 2 hands, make it a better place with my own 2 hands. I'm gonna make it a brighter place with my own 2 hands. I'm gonna help the human race with my own 2 hands. I can hold you in my own 2 hands, and I can comfort you with my own 2 hands, with my own 2 hands.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. The Army Corps of Engineers is going through one by one and updating the master plans for each of the lakes in Indiana. The plans provide an overview for how each lake should be managed. First up was Lake Monroe. The finished document looks at everything from how recreation trends are shifting because of the state's aging population to how many gallons of water the lake could provide each day. But arguably, a bigger concern to a lot of people is what's not in the plan. Sarah Whitmire reports.
On a hot summer day, this is where a lot of people choose to escape.
So when we get off on Thursday, we pack up and we come out here with the family and we'll enjoy the day at the lake.
Craig Smith has been boating on Lake Monroe since the mid-1980s.
We'll do some jet skiing and skiing. We have a little canoe looking thing over there that we use to go up and down the lake, and we take this boat out every once in a while, so it's just a lifestyle.
Besides his obvious interest in recreation, there are other aspects of the recently updated Lake Monroe master plan on Smith's radar.
And keeping the lake at a safe level is critical. So letting the water out of the dam is important, making sure they don't let too much out and make sure that it doesn't overflow.
And what about invasive species?
You know, the biggest fear is Asian carp. You know, they jump in the air and they can hurt people and stuff, and that's always a fear.
And then there's the water quality. Smith lives just 5 miles from the lake in Bloomington. That means he, just like all of the city's residents, rely on the lake for water. A lot has changed since the lake was built in the 1960s to control flooding in the Salt Creek Valley and along the Ohio River.
So what was written in 1967 really doesn't pertain to today's world, so they just needed something a little more current.
The master plan is a document that guides how the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers manages and conserves the lake's resources. This is the first time it's been updated in nearly 50 years. It has 5 objectives: flood control, water resource, provide low water augmentation to Salt Creek drainage area, recreational use of land and water, and protect and preserve natural resources and habitats.
Well, under the Clean Water Act, we are bound to provide water storage, flood control, with flood control being the most important, and that's how we prioritized. After that, we have the City of Water Supply for Bloomington. After that, you can pretty well put recreation and the other resource goals that we have in any order you want.
The report acknowledges that there is frequently conflict among these objectives because so many different people have an interest in the lake.
I would like to see a much greater emphasis on the lake as the water supply, not just, it seems like the emphasis is really on recreation.
The city of Bloomington withdraws an average of 15 million gallons per day. Eagle Point Golf Resort, Indianapolis Power and Light, and Salt Creek Services have contracts to withdraw water too, but it's a much smaller amount. There's a line in the master plan that says the state of Indiana reserves the right to withdraw more water in the future. That's different than what was in the draft plan, released late last year. It said Indianapolis reserves the right to withdraw water in the future, but currently doesn't do so. McKim took issue with that during one of the public comment meetings, and now the revision makes it clear that the authority rests with the state.
That was a real big stickler for people. They were really worried that we were going to give all the water to Indianapolis and the local people wouldn't have any water. The truth of the matter is that they've never shown any interest in drawing water from the reservoir, and we would have to agree to their request for that withdrawal, and it would have to also fit all of our other management goals for the resources, for clean water, for everything else.
The lake is the largest water source in the state, and the master plan says it's capable of providing water up to 130 million gallons per day to the state of Indiana. But the plan doesn't focus on the quality of that water, and that's been an issue with high levels of disinfectant byproducts in the city's drinking water. The Army Corps says that doesn't fall under their purview. The report states the responsibility for water quality regulation falls to the municipalities that actually draw the water, treat the water, and give it to residents.
Although I don't think this master plan does any harm. I mean, it's not a regulatory document. I really feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity for a community conversation about water and Monroe County's dependence and Bloomington's dependence on the water of Lake Monroe and the issues of clean water.
And critics are asking why the Army Corps didn't consider some of the issues that do fall under the agency's purview, such as recreation or erosion, and the impact they might be having on the quality of the water.
It's just an overview. It's not the end-all be-all of what's going to happen on the lake, and people kind of got that idea that things were going to change, and they really aren't.
And then there's the issue of public involvement in creating this new master plan. The open house was held around Christmas time, so a lot of people missed it. They complained, and the Army Corps of Engineers did lengthen that public comment period, but people said it still wasn't enough. Now, the Army Corps of Engineers is working with the same contractor to update all the lake's master plans in the state of Indiana. They're working on one now for Raccoon Lake, and they say it's been a lesson learned. And what they're going to do is extend the public comment period, and then after the draft is ready, they're going to hold another open house to get feedback on that first draft. Joe, back to you.
Thanks, Sarah. Meanwhile, we reached out to the city of Bloomington to learn more about how the Utilities Department is managing water quality. Utility Director Vic Kelson was scheduled to be on this program, but the city press office called to cancel his appearance, citing the director's busy schedule. Kelson told us the city sends water quality reports to its customers and responds quickly to any questions about water quality. He says he's glanced at the master plan a little bit, but hasn't had time to really dig into it. The current version isn't posted on the Army Corps website, but you can find it on our website at WTIUnews.org. And Spencer, Indiana is about to become the smallest city in the United States to have an LGBTQ community center. The center will have a storefront on the town square, selling local art and trinkets to raise money. The Director of Volunteers for Spencer Pride says the center has faced some backlash, but describes Spencer as a live and let live community. And that's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: IU Health Southern Indiana physicians, primary care and specialty care providers, now accepting new patients in Bloomington and throughout South Central Indiana. SIphysicians.org, IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.